Hello everyone, and welcome back to Turkish Spotlight Secrets. I'm so glad you're here. Before we begin, remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and click the join button if you'd like to support my work. Today we're taking a thoughtful look at a name audiences adore, Elçin Sangu. We'll explore how she navigates love, ambition, and the constant noise of public attention, without losing herself along the way. When you hear the name Elçin Sangu, you probably think of luminous performances, radiant red carpet moments, and a career built on range and charisma. But beyond the headlines and the highlight reels, there is a person who makes choices, sets boundaries, and grows, sometimes quietly, sometimes under the brightest lights, always trying to balance heart and purpose. That is the story we're telling today. Over the last few seasons, Elçin has moved through a period of intense reflection. Industry insiders often describe phases like these as career recalibration. Times when a performer pauses, takes stock, and decides what truly matters next. For some actors, it's a strategic shift toward streaming projects. For others, it's a return to theater. For Elçin, friends say it's been about meaning, choosing roles that feel honest, choosing teams that feel supportive, and choosing a life off camera that is steady, respectful, and real. Of course, any conversation about a star's personal life invites speculation. You've seen the chatter, questions about love, whispers about trust, debates about whether public figures owe us more information than they wish to give. Here's the truth that often gets lost. Privacy is not a performance. Privacy is a boundary. And in the last year, Elçin has become especially good at drawing that line with grace. She shares when she wants to share. She steps back when she needs space. That ability to hold her own center is not a sign of distance from her audience. If anything, it's a sign of respect for the work and for the people who follow it. Let's talk about love, because that is the theme everyone seems to circle back to. Love for the craft. Love for the people who show up and stand by you. Love that looks like patience when schedules are chaotic, like kindness when the pressure builds, like honesty when rumors stretch thin. If you believe the softer voices behind the louder news cycle, you'll hear a consistent idea: Elçin values relationships that are quietly dependable. She gravitates toward connections that lift rather than control, that listen rather than perform. Whether that becomes a path to marriage someday isn't the big headline for her. The bigger story is quality, the quality of time, conversation, and trust. Commitment, when and if it comes, should reflect that. What about the industry itself? The camera can magnify everything. A glance becomes a storyline, a sentence becomes a saga. That is the reality of celebrity in a digital age. Yet Elçin's approach to work resists that flattening. Colleagues say she is meticulous about text and tone. She asks, what is this character really after? Where does her strength crack? Where does it hold? Directors who appreciate actor-driven exploration often love her for exactly that reason. She cares about substance. She wants the roles to feel lived in, not just performed. It hasn't always been easy. Anyone who has followed a long career knows there are seasons of triumph and seasons of trial. A project that looked promising on paper might not land as expected. A release schedule can work against momentum. A creative risk can take time to be understood. What stands out is how Elçin uses these moments. Instead of collapsing into the noise, she rebuilds her rhythm. Training, reading, collaborating, recalibrating. It's the slower part of success that rarely goes viral, the quiet mornings learning new material, the late nights rewriting beats in a scene, the emails negotiating for a more thoughtful script revision. That's the work you don't see, but it's the work that sustains a career. Let's also acknowledge something human. Watching your peers move into new phases, some getting married, others becoming parents, can stir private questions for anyone. Not envy, not competition, but questions. What do I want my everyday to look like? Who do I want to build that with? How do I create a life that supports both love and art? Those questions are not gossip, they are growth. And the best thing about growth is that it doesn't need an audience to be real. Still, the public wants stories. That's understandable. We look for meaning in the lives of people we admire. Here's a meaningful one: generosity. People who've worked next to Elçin talk about a generous scene partner, someone who gives you the space to shine in your moment and anchors a scene when the energy wobbles. That generosity translates behind the camera, too. Younger performers mention brief conversations in hallways that changed the way they approached a role. Costume teams mention respectful collaboration. These details don't make splashy headlines, but they build a legacy, the kind you feel on set even when the press isn't watching. And yes, there have been rumors. There always are. Allegations, theories, reinterpretations of old quotes. The healthiest response is the one we practice here: discernment. What was said directly? What was implied by someone else? What was edited out of context? In this space, we do not place judgment on private relationships. We focus on what can be known: the work, the professionalism, the way a person moves through the world with or without applause. By that measure, Elçin stands tall. So where might this journey lead next? Some speculate about a prestige limited series, lean, character-driven, emotionally layered. Others hope for a return to theater for the raw electricity of live performance. There are whispers about a feature film project that would give her a role with both vulnerability and wit, the kind of script that lets an actor stretch and still feel like herself. Whatever she chooses, expect a smaller circle, stronger core, a director she trusts, a writer who lets characters breathe, a team that values process, and a schedule that leaves room for a life beyond premieres. There's also a conversation to be had about well-being. The industry is learning, sometimes slowly, that sustained careers require more than stamina, they require systems of care. Breaks aren't laziness, they're longevity. Saying no isn't arrogance, it's alignment. Elçin appears to be embracing that philosophy. Choosing projects that replenish rather than deplete, and relationships that nourish rather than drain. That is not just a personal victory, it's a professional strategy that keeps an artist vibrant. For fans, what can we do? We can celebrate the art without demanding ownership of the person. We can resist the reflex to turn uncertainty into accusation. We can hold space for evolving stories rather than forcing familiar endings. When a favorite actor steps back to breathe, we can let them breathe. When they step forward with something new, we can meet them there with curiosity rather than comparison. There's a beautiful irony in how this all works. The more an artist honors her own pace, the more timeless the work can become. The less she chases noise, the more clearly we hear her voice. That's why, even in seasons of quiet, the audience keeps waiting, not because we are owed something, but because we sense that something thoughtful is being made. If you came here hoping for scandal, you might feel unsatisfied. But if you came here because you care about the human being behind the headlines, then maybe you're walking away with something richer, a portrait of a woman who knows what matters to her, who is learning to protect it, and who still believes in love, love that shows up as steadiness, as kindness, as the everyday courage to try again. In the end, perhaps that is the secret. Not a single revelation, but a series of choices that add up to a life. A life where love is not a performance, and success isn't just numbers on a chart. A life where a role can be both a challenge and a joy, and where the person playing it remains whole. To Elçin Sangu, may the next chapters be nourishing, the collaborations true, and the audience ready for the stories you're meant to tell. And to everyone listening, thank you for spending this time with me. If you enjoyed this deeper, kinder perspective, please like the video, subscribe to Turkish Spotlight Secrets, and click the join button for more long-form breakdowns. Tell me in the comments, what kind of role would you love to see Elçin take on next? A tense psychological drama? A warm literary romance? Or a sharp, witty comedy with heart? I'm excited to hear your ideas. Until next time, take care of yourselves, and goodbye.